Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Looking for Love in All the Wrong Dust Jackets, a show where three disgruntled harpies talk to you about everything we love in romance, whether that's books, movies, TV shows, whatever we're feeling. My name's Liz.
I'm Danny.
I'm Wiggles.
And welcome to the episode. Today, we're going to talk to you about The Hating Game, the movie version, not the book version.
Taylor's version.
Taylor's version. But before we get into that, I gotta do kind of the usual spiel at the top here. Just warn everyone that we, as have been previously mentioned, are disgruntled harpies and we're unhinged and, we'll say whatever we want to say using all of the words in the English language, whether they have 4 letters or more. Yeah, so if you're not into that, if you don't like swearing or talking about naughty times, completely understand, but you've been warned. Okay, tell me what's going on with you two. Before we get started talking about the movie, tell me what you've been up to.
I decided that I was going to make up for lost time. And by that, I mean just finish some of the things I've started. So one of the things I read was It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This is probably the first rec in a long time I've actually gotten to, Liz. So
hot damn,
congratulations. Look at you. I totally get why you like it.
Yeah.
I gave it a 4. Main reason being that it's not a 5 is just a Piper character is not a character that I relate to very well. And so it took me a long time to warm up to her, like more time than it took the male love interest. Like I was just like, oh, she's annoying.
That's because you are a version of the male love interest.
I don't have time to unpack that. So then I also read The Worst Wingman Ever by Abby Jimenez. And this is part of the Improbable Meet Cute series that Amazon has. So if you haven't heard about it, that's the deal. If you get it, you get both the audiobook and the Kindle version, which is kind of cool. It was really cute. I think going into, I don't think any of these are going to get very spicy. So if you do choose to read them, they're only like an hour and a half long audiobook. So, like 60 pages or something like that. But they are very, very cute. The Worst Wingman Ever, like I said, by Abby Jimenez, and then I'm currently reading one of our former authors, Ashley Poston, With Any Luck. So, and that one's only 43 pages according to Goodreads. So they're very short, but it's cool. It's a whole bunch of fairly well-known romance or romantasy or rom-com authors that all wrote these cute little meet cute stories. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
I've seen those on my Instagram, and so now I have to read them because you've approved them.
I've approved the 2 I've read so far. Well, I haven't quite finished the Ashley Poston one because I did listen to that one on audio, and it makes for a really good, like, fun thing to do while you're like doing your dishes and your chores and stuff like that. And I had to stop because of whatever got in my way on Saturday. So I don't have it quite finished. But that's the other thing, is it feels really easy to walk away from because the stakes are really low because it's a very short story. So.
Fair enough. I had a kind of a strange weekend of chasing dopamine of I have no idea what I want to do.
I feel that.
It was bad. I was like, I don't fucking know what I want to do. I know that I need to edit. So I spent 4 hours editing. In fact, I called my mother as I started to edit and was like, I'm using you as a procrastination technique. And she goes, okay, it's 11:56. You have to start at noon. And then she hung up on me.
Damn, your mom is...
It's like my mom just read me for filth. But so then I started at noon. Weirdly enough, I was just kind of scrolling Netflix being like, something. What do I want to watch? I have no fucking clue. And what popped up was How to Train Your Dragon 2.
All right.
And sometimes you just want a little How to Train Your Dragon. And then I remembered that it emotionally destroys you.
You do have a magnetism for that when you don't want it, and
yeah,
it's interesting.
Well, it's so cute. 90% of that movie is so cute, and then it's like, oh fuck, I forgot.
Well, it's a Pixar, right?
Yes.
DreamWorks. Either way, Pixar, DreamWorks, Disney, they're out for blood. They don't would leave no survivors.
They've been stepping up their game lately too.
Yeah, they have.
Oh man, it's my turn.
It is your turn.
So I finally finished Paladin's Strength by T. Kingfisher, and then I was on a roll, so I just did the next book in the series, which is Paladin's Hope. These are just like super... I call them very like, I just feel like they're cozy romances. They're set in a classic fantasy adventure, but low magic universe. And there is a lot of adventuring. And then the romances are just like, I don't know, they're so well done. They're really good books. And the spice is moderate to low, but the romance is pretty good in them. So they're like, each one is like a 4 to a 4.5. They're really good.
Nice.
That's what I did. And then I finally, after 5 years, got my damn library card.
Look at you.
Aww.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. And then I downloaded Libby, and I'm like, now I have all of the audiobooks.
Yeah. I need to get one for this town. My one in my previous town has run out, and they will no longer let me do digital anymore.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It's very difficult.
Well, luckily, it takes like not even 5 minutes when you go into the library. They're just like, cool. Here's the thing.
Let's talk about the hating game.
Perfect. Sounds
Okay.
good. Let's talk about it.
So the movie The Hating Game is based off of the book The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. That's as much as I got.
Oh, great. Great information. It's a movie, and you can find it on Amazon Prime. You have to rent it.
I got it on the Hulu.
I did too.
I don't have the Hulus.
Oh.
I canceled that one. But it's out there. You can watch it. It's a thing.
I have a question for you, since we're kind of talking about just like the background of the movie. So the main character's name is Lucy,
Yes.
who's played by an actress whose name is Lucy.
Uh-huh.
How fucking weird would it be to actually have like romantic interactions with somebody? And I know it's just acting and it's a job, and totally get that. But having them use your actual name.
The differentiation between, are you talking to me or are you talking to her?
Not even that, but just having to like have like emotional romantic interaction with somebody, and they're saying, Lucy, I love you. And you're like, all right.
So in a lot of Jane Austen's books, because I'm going to bring it back to Jane Austen at all times when I get a chance, if there is any kind of play acting, it's like talked about as this very dangerous game to play, right?
Yeah.
Where it's, you could fall in love for real at any point is kind of the idea. And sometimes like that does get played that way, right? And I imagine that it's got to be a little bit like not being able to touch anyone, but getting the excuse because you're acting in a play. It's got to be on that level where you're like, I thought we were just acting, and now this feels personal. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always think about that, like, how do more of these actors not just go, I feel this for real? I don't know how you do that.
I don't know.
I don't know. Should we talk about what it's actually about, this movie?
Sure. Go forth and conquer, Danny.
I mean, that is my general job in this podcast.
Except for the few times you make Wiggles do it.
Yeah, well, every now and then I feel spicy and throw that at her unexpectedly. But I will take up the mantle, as it were, on this one.
I thought you were going to say you were going to take it up somewhere else. Take it up, Danny.
So The Hating Game is about Lucy and Joshua. They are both working at a publishing company that has been merged from two different companies. One was more of a like literary art type publishing company, whereas the other one was more like sportsy kind of thing. Is that?
I think they were more just like whatever is popular, it makes us money.
Yes. And so he is essentially the assistant, I think, for the head guy for the more popular one. And she was the assistant for the head woman of the like artsy side. And then they've been merged. And so they are literally now working in a room with desks pointing at each other, which it was an interesting decision. I don't know why they would have done that, but whatever.
I'd never get anything done.
I never would either. I'd be like, why am I staring at your fucking face? And they hate each other. They hate each other. Well, she thinks they hate each other. He doesn't necessarily hate her. But they do everything they possibly can to annoy each other. They fight fucking constantly, screaming matches. HR has come to them multiple times.
I did love that HR lady.
Oh my God. HR is in this. And so they are now competing to become, a higher position in this company. And they all of a sudden start to feel feelers for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Disgust.
Yeah. Well, okay. So the hating part of it was pretty funny. Only because we didn't have to fucking work with them. I would have chewed them out so quick. I would have been like, shut the fuck up. You're standing in the way of the donuts. I don't care about what point you're trying to make.
That is one of the things that always gets me with office romances as somebody who works in corporate America is that shit won't fly.
Oh, no.
And you would get in a lot of trouble for yelling at each other. I mean, granted, yelling at each other does happen in some cases still, but like just being in the break room screaming over donuts at each other, that don't work.
How good must they be at their jobs if it can compensate for that?
I don't know.
I just love so the opening scene killed me. So it's them with their desks. Their desks are pointed at each other in one room. The head woman's office is on Lucy's side of the room, and the head guy's office is on Joshua's side of the room. And he is mimicking her just to annoy the shit out of her.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hysterical. At first I was like, what is why? This is so childish. And then when she points out that he's playing a mimic game, I'm like, oh my God, he's actually just doing this on purpose. He's just being a dick at this point.
Well, and then shortly after he leaves his desk and she comes over and just like slightly adjusts everything.
Yes, because he is super neurotic about everything being in its place.
Yes. That was a thought that I kept coming back to throughout the whole thing. I was like, why are y'all so childish? How old are you? Like, because you look like you're at least late 20s. Is what you're trying to portray, and you're acting like a couple of like teenagers. I will say there are certain people that can just get under your skin.
Oh, there are.
Still, having worked with some people who are wildly unprofessional in a similar manner, who can't get their shit together, I'm not a fan. I would have hated them so much. Like, oh my God. How has no one before this just told them to fucking get it over with? Like, they're so annoying.
Yeah, that is the one thing. Like, if somebody was constantly interfering with my job, there is no way I am falling for that man.
No.
Oh, yeah, no.
That man is now my enemy. And I'm not going to take him down with childish, petty things. I'm going to do my very best to make him miserable just being in the same room with me. Like, I'm not even going to do anything. I just know how to make this happen. There's just a way that you can, like, phrase things that just makes them like, I fucking hate my life. That would be my mission.
Well, and then, like, the next day she comes into work, or the next couple of days, she has this sex dream about Joshua and decides that she's going to wear her sexiest black little dress to work. And I'm like, to what end, lady?
Right.
I was gonna say,
what is your goal?
I would have the opposite decision. I'd be like, I need everything covered.
Right.
So that I feel more secure about the situation.
I think her thought process was, I'm gonna make him as hot for me as I was for him. Like, that was how I interpreted it.
I guess. I will say the dream sequence was hot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I got it.
Yes, it was. And I was like, oh, is that where we're going with this movie?
No.
It didn't get there.
No.
Did not get there. I also didn't fully understand a lot of the choices that he was making. And by he, I mean the actor for that character. I have not read the book, but it felt like, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. It felt a lot of the time like the lines were straight from the book, and that they were trying to be very faithful to it. And the idea of delivering those lines was just too cheesy for him. And so he like couldn't commit to them fully and make them realized the way you do when you're reading the book in your head.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the actor that played Joshua, like I couldn't get behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. He was a pretty man.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
But he just didn't sell the character to me.
No. there were just some of the lines that, especially towards the end, where it got really mushy and gushy and all that. And I was like, it feels like if you told AI to say a romantic line as opposed to, I'm going to put the emotional investment that this character is actually trying to deliver in this moment.
That is admittedly a hard thing with acting, because like there are some things that you're gonna feel like a dumbass doing, but if you don't commit to them, it looks horrible.
Yes.
Like you just make it worse by getting self-conscious about it, which is also why Danny can't do it.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying I could do a better job, but that doesn't mean I can't tell when it's done wrong.
Yeah. I will say none of us have read the book, so maybe there's a very key element in the book that we're missing.
Yeah.
But of course, the movie is meant to be consumed as it's a standalone piece of media.
It's true.
Since we're just kind of talking about things that don't always work in movies, one of the things that always bothers me in office scenes is when they have the entire desk and the only thing they have is a laptop. I know it's such a minor thing and it's there to not block the actors' faces and stuff, but I'm sorry, you would have more than a laptop, wouldn't you?
Oh, hell yeah.
You'd have monitors and...
Also, I think it would be funnier because you'd be like...
Right, yeah, you get to peek.
Do the lean around. I don't know why I physically did that, like anyone was going to know what the fuck I was doing.
It helps me.
Good.
Or you do the thing that actually did happen at my office once. So we have sit-stand desks. And we have 2 monitors that are attached to our desks, and they can move. And my work bestie is in the next aisle and at the end of the aisle from me. And the girl in the cubicle next, like in front of hers, was saying something to her, and she literally was standing while working and just pulled both of her monitors apart to talk to her.
Yeah, there could be so much humor in the props.
Yeah, or you could like peek under the standing desk.
Right.
While we're on that topic, the poor usage of that office space is so unrealistic.
I know.
There's only 2 people in that gigantic space, but they had to downsize and consolidate. That doesn't make no sense.
That does not. And that's a very Hollywood television kind of thing where you're like, it's just like the Friends apartment. Ain't no way they would have been able to afford that apartment.
Even rent controlled, you know?
Yeah. No. But exactly. They would not be in that space alone. I realize that they're supposed to be kind of their like assistants. So they maybe would be in a little bit more of a lobby situation, but it's also not a lobby situation because it's very off to the like one side of the whole building.
Yes.
Well, and you have to go up the elevator and they're not right in front of the elevator to greet people.
Yeah.
And there's no barricades. So, because you would assume as an assistant, you'd be on the phone a lot. So you'd need like sound barriers.
But they're seemingly not their assistants either, because it's not like they're keeping track of either of their counterparts' schedules. They're not doing any of their like secretarial type of work.
Yeah.
They're really just there almost in like an assistant director, not assistant to the director capacity.
Yeah. I couldn't figure out what their jobs were. The entire time I was like, what do you do at this company?
Because they clearly like edit things too, but I'm like, what do you do? I was trying to figure it out the entire fucking time. I think that's why they were arguing about the donuts, because he said this is a comma and this is a semicolon, and he was using donut holes and like half a donut, and that's where they were getting fucking pissy at each other about with the donuts.
And I would be like, quit fucking with my donuts.
I would be like, quit manhandling my fucking donuts and get away from the table.
I was gonna eat that one. We only got 3 cream-filled donuts, you asshole.
God, if he wasted a cream-filled donut.
You know what I think of always when I think about donuts is, why don't we throw a few jellies in the mix? Which is a very specific dumb reference from Buffy.
Stop it.
Throw jellies in the
Once again, I have not seen Buffy.
Well, you would if you would.
Don't worry, Danny. All of the TikTok knows now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
They all know. We're all watching you.
Anyway. We have a girls' day coming up. We can watch Buffy.
That's not enough time.
No. Not unless we're going to watch a whole season in one day, which means you can't leave the couch.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed.
At that point, though, like, would we suffer through the first season, or would we just be like, all right, Danny, here's a lowdown of the first season, and then we're going to start with season 2?
That's a really hard decision.
I know.
One that I can't make in this moment.
No, we should probably talk about this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that their bosses were really interesting characters. Like, they could have just been caricatures, and some of the other people in the show kind of are. And in some ways, I can't think of what the male boss's name is. He doesn't matter. That's not the point. He's an old fart.
He's gross.
Who's gross and pervy, right? But he also feels very real. Like, the things he says and does, I'm like, yep, that's correct. That is a man over 60 in the workforce. Great. I also really liked her boss. Like, she was... I really like the conversation that they have when the potential promotion comes up, and she's like, I really think you should apply for this. And she's like, well, why didn't you promote me before? She's like, I really fucking should have. Yeah. But you didn't ask, and I was comfortable with you here.
Yeah, which is also a very valid thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very realistic to what actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a very subtle nod to the fact that we as women are trained not to ask for more.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Can we talk about her Smurf obsession?
Yeah.
Again, I'm sure they put that in there because it's in the book, and maybe it makes more sense in the book, but it seemed very just like, oh, she has a Smurf obsession to make her quirky.
So there's another movie that I really want to see, and for some reason I'm spacing on it, but it has, is it Jim Parsons in it? The guy who plays Sheldon on Big Bang Theory?
Jim Parsons, yeah.
I was like, is it Parson or Parsons? And he's got that character he's playing has a Smurf obsession that makes hers look like not a big deal. She's totally normal human being. And I really want to watch it, but I haven't had time. But they were previewing it on Amazon while I was like queuing up the movie, and I was like, can I watch this instead? No, focus, you're gonna watch this movie. And then so when the Smurfs showed up, I was like, what is happening? Am I in the Twilight Zone? Did the movies merge? Like, what happened?
When she like stays in to write like Smurf fanfic?
Yeah.
When he made fun of her for that, I was like, okay, that's really dumb. And then she did it. And I was like, oh, honey. Oh, no. That's very sad.
It's not sad.
She was spending her Thanksgiving eating cranberry sauce out of a can with a fork and writing Smurf fan fiction.
Well, not everybody has places to go.
She did have places to go. She just couldn't go there because they didn't give her enough time off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, you get one day and then you're back in the office on Friday, motherfuckers. I was like, okay. Aggressive much?
I mean, to be fair, my job is also that way. We don't get the day after Thanksgiving off. It does not really bother me, however, because I can work from home and I only work 5 hours on Fridays. So,
and you're nearer at least to most of your family compared to her. Like, she can't go back see her family because they don't live in the same state. At least that's what's implied.
They don't. She said where they live, and
I forgot. It was really important to me.
It was like Vermont or something like that.
She seems like a Vermont.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
I've never been to Vermont. We live in the Midwest.
I'm sorry, people from Vermont. I'm not judging you. I don't know anything about you.
Newhart?
Sure.
Well, her whole apartment is kind of sad, which becomes a plot point when Joshua comes over and cleans it for her.
It's true.
He like stress cleans her entire apartment.
I've done that.
Yes.
Before.
So hard left to a different thing. The elevator scene.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was like, we have to get there, and y'all are taking too long to get there.
Okay. I'm sorry. I like a little suspense.
I was expecting that this movie was gonna like really drag out their connection, and so they got into the elevator, and I was like, okay, they're gonna have maybe like a little sexual tension, a little fight, and then they'll get out. And it was like, we're gonna make out in the elevator.
Nope, up against a wall. God damn it. And I'm like, oh, hi.
It was hot.
He lifted her a lot in this movie.
Yeah, he did.
Well, I think it was to emphasize the smallness of her.
Yeah, they really were like, she's tiny. Have you noticed? And we're like, yeah, bitch, we fucking, yeah.
He calls her shortcake.
Shortcake.
He does.
Because she grew up on a strawberry farm.
Disgusting.
The second I understood it the moment she said something about, that her parents own a strawberry farm. And I'm like, that's why he calls her shortcake. It's not because she's short. And then when he finally said it, I don't know why, but my heart melted. I'm like, I have a jaded ass heart. And I was like, oh, he calls her shortcake.
I have opinions about him and his love for her, but we'll get there.
I knew you would.
Great. Glad that the elevator scene didn't go anywhere.
You sounded like you had more to say, and you were actively looking at your phone. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll be patient. I'll wait.
No.
I'm excited to hear.
My phone just says hot elevator makeout session. Yes, please. That's all it says.
Okay, so here's my thoughts about the elevator. Is the timing is not convenient, right? Because she's about to go on a date with a different guy, our sweet boy,
Danny.
I felt so bad for him.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, she
used him.
Of course, I know. It was terrible. She asks him out just so that she can tell Joshua she has a date.
Right?
But
like,
it's very clear even before that he is like into her.
Mm-hmm.
and it's also very clear that he doesn't fucking buy it. So
Yeah.
like just say, oh, we decided to go to a different place. My goodness. It's not that hard to lie. Do better.
Right?
But also, like, Danny is like really sweet the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's not an unattractive guy. He's just doesn't look like that guy.
Right.
Almost nothing wrong other than he's kind of awkward and weird. And that's it. Like that. And he's not even that weird. He's just interested in some of the things that she's not interested in. But they connect on some really important things. Right?
Yeah, they have a good time together and everything. I got very angry when she like immediately went to his office. I'm like, don't fucking do that.
Right?
Because
Yeah.
you're not interested in him. If you had even just like a little bit of interest in him, I maybe wouldn't be upset. Hey, let's see where this could go with Danny. He's a nice guy. I'm a little interested.
Mm-hmm.
But she has no fucking interest in him. And I know she has no fucking interest in him. So don't do that.
I think I pretty much yelled that at the television. Like, I was like, don't, just stop. Don't do that.
I literally did. I was like, don't fucking do that. It's mean.
Well, and he takes it on the chin like a champ, but it's like, you shouldn't have to. Like, he makes some brush off joke about how he's like the king of the friend zone or whatever. And it's
Right.
like, no, she fucked you over. She was an asshole.
Yeah.
And especially because she didn't have to let him think it was a date. She
Right.
she either could have just explained the situation to him and been like, hey, I am in this fight with Joshua about whatever. Can you just like fake go on a date with me tonight so I can,
Mm-hmm.
especially because the whole fucking office knows that they're constantly fighting about shit.
Well, that's my biggest thing. He could have just been, hey, can you be a real big bro and just like pretend to go out on a date with me tonight?
Right?
I hate the using him like that.
Right.
That fucking angers me.
He even called her out about it. He like
Mhm.
asks her, like, I thought you and Josh were a thing. And she's like, nope, we're not. And shuts it down. And it's like, you could have just, you didn't have to do this. You didn't have to do this.
Mm-mm.
And she made him cancel his plans with his friends who were going to take him out for his last week.
Yeah.
That's fucking shitty. And it made it hard to like her after that.
Especially because Danny brought her, was it a daisy or something the next day? Like some flower. And it was super cute. And then he, after the first date, they talk about it and he's like, so this isn't happening. And she's like, no. And then he sits there later in the movie and listens to her bitch about her like relationship with Josh and how Josh, or at least she thought Josh was using her. And I'm like, this guy is the nicest guy in the world. And
Mhm.
I completely understand that just because some guy is nice doesn't mean that
Mm-hmm.
you click romantically, but that also doesn't mean that you use him.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and the one saving grace I will give her is that when Josh does say, hey, like, you need to go kiss him and see if you feel something with him.
Yeah.
We're not going to keep doing this. That when she realizes that it's not going to click, she does apparently let him down. We don't know how well that goes. Presumably okay, because he's decided to still be friends with her, but we see that doesn't happen on screen.
Right.
But it's still like, would you have done it if Josh didn't prompt you to? Ugh.
Yeah. I hate the Yuzi thing that drives me nuts. If you don't feel chemistry for somebody, don't be with them. Don't do. Oh God, I literally screamed at my TV. Don't do that.
Well, to make a reference to another one of our episodes, when we talked about this a little bit in 'Tis the Season for Revenge, where, and I don't remember these characters' names now, but our main character is fake dating. Was it Damon or whatever?
Something like that.
Damien. I don't know.
Something.
And I was like, why are you like stringing him along after you know there's feelings? Don't do it. Especially because like it's not that hard to just be truthful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably embarrassing, but it's not that hard to just go, oh, hey, this is the actual situation.
Well, and in the long run, is it a little embarrassing at the top? Yeah, absolutely. Nobody likes to be that person. However, it just makes it fucking 10 times worse if you do that. If you string people along and everything and then have to have that conversation later.
It's one thing to make a mistake. It's an entirely different thing to be cruel.
Yeah.
And she was being cruel.
Yeah.
Like, she was fully mean girling this guy.
Yeah. Very much so, because she knew she didn't have feelings for him.
From the jump.
And he was a puppy dog hanging around their office.
Right? It was not hard to tell that man had a crush on her.
Yeah.
So you knew that you were using and abusing that.
Yeah.
I just didn't like it. It didn't really like her after that for a lot of minutes, actually. Which did make it harder to get back into the movie and see it through to the end, because I was just like, ugh. And I don't like when, and I'm sure this is a plot point in the romance novel, but I don't like when the idea of a quote unquote strong independent woman is to be like a guy. Like, no, we don't need to do that. You do not need to pull shitty things like that.
Yeah.
Right? We can be better. Like, I'm a lady who respects ladies, but I would love other ladies to not do dumb shit. You know what I'm saying?
So I mentioned that Danny brought her a flower, but that was after Joshua bought her a full bouquet of roses.
It's true.
And mentioned, or like, didn't sign the card, and all he put in the card it was like, you were always beautiful or something like that, because she was referencing, or she had mentioned in some story she wasn't. And it was very cute, but I don't know. Joshua gives me like weird stalker vibes the whole fucking movie.
You know,
I didn't get those. I understand like where you're coming from now, like in hindsight, but I didn't get that when I was watching it.
I guess I didn't really get it until he, at the very end of the movie, announced that he painted his bedroom accent wall to like match her eye color. And I'm like, that's some stalker shit, man.
That was intense. It was crazy. But the signs were also there throughout the movie. Like the checking off what clothing items she wore.
Right?
What was that?
At first. So when they first like show that, so she like digs into his, it has to be, it's his schedule.
Yeah, just like his planner.
Yeah.
His planner. She wants to see what he puts in there. She's being nosy. And she has no skills with like snoopiness about this. But so she goes and she opens it and he's like marked certain things in a red pen. And I was like, you better not be fucking thinking she's on her period.
Oh, that's what you thought?
That's where my brain went initially.
Okay.
I thought it was because there was not long before that was a whole sequence of her putting on her red lipstick and fixing it and whatnot. So I thought it was like every time I want to kiss her or something like that. And that's why he picked red.
So, but that's why when I saw the like marks, I was like, because they had just been snarping at each other too. And then he went into his boss's office and then she went and looked at it. And I was like, you better not, motherfucker. I will lose all respect. I mean, I don't really have he's a movie character, so I don't actually have any respect for him. But like, still, like I was like, I will taint punch you. Like, don't be fucking thinking that she's on her period just because she snarked at you. Like, that is where my brain went. And I was about to like hate him eternally. And then he comes back and it's like, well, no, it's this if you have a skirt, it's this if you have a dress. I'm like, okay, that's much more cute. But when
stalkery.
And stalkery. But who's to say we haven't all had our little bit of stalker things?
Oh, sure.
Sure. But you know, you shouldn't have a record of it.
I mean, fair enough.
That's why you search incognito. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Do better. Step up your game.
So it did crack me up, though, when she did like her little Snoopy thing. And then he starts coming back and she runs away. She has no chill or like putting things back. And so he walks back and the chair is spinning.
Yeah, it was
behind the desk.
It was very bad.
I was like, you are unsubtle, ma'am.
She's like got a dexterity of 0 because she's also clumsy as shit.
Wow.
But she is a romantic lead, so that's like part of the deal.
She was good at the paintball. Or maybe she was just really aggressive. I'm not
I think
sure.
she was just really aggressive.
She's just really aggressive. And I think she was fighting through the pain because she was sick as fuck.
Yeah. Which was a really, another example of them like being absolutely toxic in the workplace.
Right.
Like, I was just like, can you imagine being on their team and you're just like, God damn it. Why?
I know that paintball, I think, used to be like a more popular team building activity, but all I can think is that is an HR complaint.
Mm-hmm.
I also liked the one girl. I don't have any idea what her name is. Maybe they say it in the movie, maybe they don't. The girl with like the blonde curly hair who's like constantly, everyone's just like picking on her and for no reason except that she's quiet. And so suddenly she's decided that this is the moment for her to come out of her shell and goes full Rambo on that. And you're like, okay.
I don't think she has a name.
Damn.
Oh, Annabelle.
Oh,
According
good
to
for you, Annabelle. Get it. Take them all out.
Yeah, the paintball scene, I was just like, this feels so unrealistic. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just my experiences. But I will say I did kind of get back into falling with this man when he was like taking care of her.
Mm-hmm.
I was, but it took me a little bit longer because he was all aggro after she like gets hit and he's like, you hurt her. I'm like, it's a fucking paintball. Like, what did you think was going to happen if you get hit with a paintball? That it was going to feel great?
It hurts.
It's like, it's a pellet full of paint. It's not a like little, what are those fuzzy like poof ball things called? Cotton ball.
Pom-pom?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, calm down, first of all. Second of all, girl, get up. You look like a weak-ass bitch. Don't let them see you sweat.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but like a man taking care of me, it is hot.
It is.
It is very nice.
On the other hand, like if I was sick and somebody gave me a ride home, I don't care what the circumstances are. If you try to stay in my house, we're gonna have beef. I'm one of those people who, when I'm sick, I need to go off and die in a hole alone. Okay? Like, don't bring me soup. Don't like bring me a glass of water. Get out of my space. I'm like a cat waiting to die.
I was gonna say you're like a wild animal.
Yes. Don't do it. I'm very threatened.
I will say there's a really cute moment where she's like, I'm sick and you're in my house. And he's like, yeah. And she goes, and she like looks down and she's in like dinosaur PJs. And she's like, and I'm in my sleepy saurus. And I was like, I like that. I feel that because I totally have dinosaur PJs that have a Tyrannosaurus Rex on it. And it says, if you're happier and you know it, clap your aw.
I don't understand people who have sexy PJs, you know, like the cute little silk, like little sleep shorts and the little tank top that can't hold your boobs in.
Every tank top.
And I'm like, no, thank you. I want a ratty t-shirt that has probably holes in it. Yes. And I want like what my husband calls my grandma pajamas. I'm like, this is what I wear.
I need to wear the most homely outfit possible to be comfortable.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
I will say, though, if I had somebody stay at my apartment for like a couple of days, maybe he was only there overnight. I don't really remember.
It seemed like a weekend.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that. Like coming in and checking on me, but like inviting a doctor to just come in. And it's like, bro, she just has like a fucking cold or the flu or something.
Right? I get that your brother's a doctor, but he claims to know all this like medical shit from his first year of medical school. That's about all you need for a common cold, my guy.
Right.
Like, you did not need to call in your doctor brother.
Granted, they did say her fever at one point was like like 102 or 103,
which is pretty high.
which you are getting to the point of having to go to the ER.
It's true. Well, not if you've got Midwestern parents.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no.
No.
That's
You don't
judging
go to the
by New York
doctor
standards.
until you're dying. But yeah, I don't know. That whole situation was cute and nice and also weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. So if somebody had brought me home and everything, great. That's lovely. You made me soup. Cool. Love that. Get the fuck out now.
Don't be in my home.
Don't be in my home. I also am an incredibly light sleeper. So if somebody is like walking around or even present in my home while I'm trying to sleep, I'd be like, who the fuck is moving?
Well, she was pretty out of it being sick and all.
True.
Yeah. Also, we see him give her a glass of water. We see him call in a doctor. We never see him offer her any medicine. I'm just saying that might be why she's not doing the best. Give her some ibuprofen or something to bring down the fever, maybe.
Maybe.
Just okay, I can accept she doesn't have cough medicine or whatever. Not cough medicine. She's Dramamine or something like that. But nothing for headaches in the house? Nothing? No pain relievers of any kind? Okay.
Yeah. But it was pivotal and important because she overheard Joshua and his brother talking about the wedding.
Yes.
So that was key
Mm-hmm.
to the
That's
plot.
when you learn how fucked up his family dynamic is.
It's super awkward.
Well, apparently it happens in books all the time. The brother marrying the other brother's ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Does that happen in real life?
It must. People are messy.
People are messy.
You know, I get it, right? Like, hey, I'm dating this person and then they introduce me to their family. And as we're breaking up and not working, there's this other person who I now know and I'm interested in. But as the brother, right, that's an off limits thing. You don't do that.
You
Well,
would think.
And I am never a proponent for this phrase, but in this moment, I'm going to say it. Bros before hoes. Come on.
They get let off the hook very easy in this
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Both him and the fiance.
Like, fucking A. Like, that's your brother.
Right. Moving right along to the actual wedding because he eventually invites her to go with him to the wedding or
Right.
whatever.
And they have kissed once at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He's taken care of her. And they had that, like, what I thought was a hot closet scene where she, like, shoved him into the closet and was giving him the what for.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I do love when a woman's manhandling a man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do like that too.
But that's it. They're kind of maybe getting to the point of admitting some feelings, right?
I don't know if they're even that far because basically he's like, oh, you made a promise that you would come with me to this wedding. So
Did they have that date? They had that date though. And then they went, or not a date, but she was on a date with Danny and then went to his apartment and they went in and then they were about to have sex.
And then he was like, no, we got to be in love first.
Well, I kind of get his position on it because he was into her and she said, like, let's just get this out of our system and be done with it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's not what he wants. He wants her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's a lot of confusion. And then they decide to go to this wedding.
And they were supposed to have separate rooms.
Which is hilarious to me because how are you going to explain that to the parents? I'm sure his thought process was, well, we just won't tell them. They're going to find out. That is a small location.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Yeah. And if anybody, well, my only thought process on that one is maybe his parents just aren't that nosy because his
dad does not seem to like him at all.
His
Right.
dad doesn't give two shits about him.
Right.
I wanted to punch that man.
And I think that his mom would just be grateful.
Yeah.
So that's probably why nobody's saying
Sure.
anything about it. But also, like, we got to hand it to my favorite character, Jaff. Like, he sounds like a D&D character.
Yes.
And acts like a D&D character, like an NPC, for sure.
Note to self for future campaigns.
Wink, wink. If my next character is named Jaff, you'll know what's up. Like, I love how he's like, no, don't inconvenience me. I loved everything that he did the whole time. I was like, my favorite was when she's looking at the ornaments on the Christmas tree, and he's like, "It's a Christmas tree. I just brought it in from outside."
I know. Okay, bud.
Okay, bud.
Oh my god!
It didn't grow there. And you're like,
Yeah,
oh, Jaff.
Jaff.
Nobody thinks that it grew there.
No.
Yeah. Oh god, he was great. I needed more of him in the movie. If I'm being honest, He was very much giving me the guy from Frozen at the Oaken Lodge. He's like, yoo-hoo!
Oh, God.
Big
Yes.
summer blowout.
Big summer blowout!
Oh, no.
Yeah. But anyway, so they do end up in the same room. And apparently that's all it took was like one super awkward car ride. And him getting out of the shower. And they were like, yes, now is the time.
Pound Town.
I wanted it to be hotter.
I know.
Didn't live up to the other moments
Right.
somehow. Like it just felt like forced in there. Like let's just shoehorn in this.
I wanted angry sexual tension, not, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
Sexual tension.
Explain to me how nothing happened in the proposal between Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock in that moment, but they have the naked getting into the out of the shower scene,
Right.
Mhm.
right? And that was way hotter. And they didn't even do anything. They just
Why
were like,
are you
"Why are
wet?
you naked?"
Why are you naked?
And then we have the wedding, which, I mean.
His dad's a tool.
His dad is a tool.
His dad is a tool. The fiance had a very pretty dress.
Mhm.
She was surprisingly nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, she was fairly nice. This isn't like, I mean, it still is like, dude, you guys are assholes for, you know,
Mhm.
doing that. But they were both fairly respectful of his feelings and everything. They seemed nice enough.
Yeah.
Mom was fine. Dad's just a tool. Although I do love how she just unleashed on
Oh, yeah.
his father.
Yeah.
I liked it, but it also kind of didn't feel earned. Like, it was sort of like, okay, but like a few weeks ago, you would have been like, okay, your dad's an asshole, and you would have just walked away. Like, I don't feel like enough connection was formed for that to fully feel justified. And so,
I think that comes back to, in my opinion, or what I took from this movie is you can tell it's based off of a book, and they didn't
Mhm.
do a good job, in my opinion, of creating a solid screenplay. It looks like they just try to take the best or the most popular moments from the book, throw it together, and call it a day. Granted,
Yeah.
I haven't read the book, but that's what it felt like watching the movie.
It did.
For me, it was one of those things that where in the book, I'm pretty sure like she went off on him like that and then had a moment of, oh, maybe I've been paying closer attention to him than I thought.
Mm.
Because she just like pulls out, he did this for the company, he did this for the company, and so clearly she's been paying attention.
Well, and I think, too, they didn't necessarily have to establish that their connection was that strong, but they then did need to establish earlier on that she's a champion for people.
Right.
And, like,
Yeah.
you see that a lot after, but you don't see that very early on in what her interactions with her coworkers, because a lot of her interactions with her coworkers is of how obnoxious her and Joshua are in the workplace.
And her getting walked over by people.
Yes.
Yeah.
If that was the angle that they were going to do, they very well could have, and it would have felt more realistic, right? Like
Mhm.
she just can't stand to see the underdog get kicked.
Right.
But if that's the case, then you have to establish that as part of her character before leading up to that moment.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe it would have felt better for the audience, or like a bigger resolution in that moment, had we been fed Josh's perspective a lot about how his parents, well, his dad, thinks that, he dropped out of med school, so he's a failure and doing all of this. And it kind of just came all at once of his family doesn't like, or his dad doesn't like him, thinks he's a failure. She stands up for him. Cool. We resolved it. It's like that. That's usually supposed to be something you sprinkle throughout, have a little bit of a slow burn, and then have a big blow up to make it
Yeah.
feel better.
Yeah, I agree.
I wanted, because if you don't have the slow burn up to that, you don't get the like chocolate of when it happens.
Right.
Mhm.
And like, I wanted more to happen to him. Like, I'm super glad she yelled at him. I loved that. I hell yeah at the TV, but I wanted more. I wanted him to be emotionally devastated by what she said. And if you don't have the slow burn up to it, you don't get that.
Right. All we knew up to that is that he did a year of med school and dropped out. And it's like, okay, well, a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It takes a certain person to be able to do medical school and be a doctor. Not
Right.
everybody is cut out for that.
Well, and it also doesn't help that I still don't know what his fucking job actually is.
Right.
Yeah, no.
So, it doesn't help. Also, though, totally random, but related to the wedding. Who the fuck plans an outdoor wedding in December?
Stupid people.
In a location where it can snow. Because
Rich
there
people.
was snow.
Rich people.
We live in the Midwest. Absolutely fucking not.
I think there's different kinds of cold.
There's
You know?
Well,
The
they were playing
Midwest is
paintball in the snow, so it couldn't have been.
yeah.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been our version of. Well, we would play paintball in the snow. It was like 30 degrees and sunny. We'd play paintball.
Yeah. Some people golf in the snow. So let's talk about how she overhears Joshua talking with Assface McGee. I have no idea what their actual boss's name is, but he's a prick.
Brexley.
That sounds like an asshole's name.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know if it's first name or last name, but that's the name. Or Bexley, excuse me.
Bexley.
That's the name we have.
Bexley's an asshole. She overhears him having a conversation saying he doesn't need to worry about beating her for the job and everything. And it's after they're in their like honeymoon phase, happy sex bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then she's devastated, as you would be. And instead of doing the mature thing, in my opinion, which is to have a discussion with him about it, she ices him out completely and then goes and bitches to, of all people, poor Danny, which is weird saying out loud to myself. Sorry.
I'm sure.
Not me.
She came to you personally.
There would have been a lot of different conversations had she come to me personally. I give good advice, but I am not always kind about my advice.
Well, sometimes bitches need to hear it, you know?
I mean, it is exactly thing. My biggest thing is that if you are actually friends, sometimes you have to tell hard truths.
Mm-hmm.
I have done it to all my friends, and they have all said thank you. Anyway, but so since she goes and bitches to Danny about it, you know, calling him a backstabber, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, but you heard part of a conversation with his boss. Nobody tells their boss 100% the truth.
But what he was saying was really
It was.
gross.
Yeah.
And his boss is really gross. And they've had a lot of tension where, you know, they are competing for the same role. And she doesn't have enough relationship with him to trust him.
True. And all of those things are true. I'm just like, you know, you thought you were madly in love with him 2 seconds ago. So if you... I hate the thought process of like, oh my God, I think I'm in love with him, but you can't have a fucking conversation with him.
I mean, that's a rom-com classic right
Yes,
there.
it is.
Yeah, it's not why they're
God
not always my
forbid I
favorite.
actually tell you what's going on.
Well, so the book that this movie is based off of was written in 2016, and I feel like you can really feel that.
It feels like
Yeah,
2016.
it feels like 2016.
Yeah.
Because I was just writing down tropes. Like, I have a list of tropes, and it's rivals to lovers.
Yeah.
He falls first.
Uh-huh.
Office romance.
Yeah.
One bed.
Yeah.
Fake dating.
Yeah.
Third act breakup.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
it's
Goddamn.
it's all of them.
Yeah. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, to me, that reaction felt very real.
I get the reaction. It always disappoints me. I'm like, if you think that you could be in a relationship with this man, you have to be able to have a conversation with him.
See, you're coming from the rational side of the world, and I'm coming from the screw me once, I'll fucking burn this bridge to the ground.
I mean, you're not wrong.
mentality. So if I find out that I've imbued any amount of trust in somebody and then they betray that trust, they're fucked.
Well, and we have to remember it is a new relationship.
Yep.
Yes.
So it's really easy to have your trust be broken in a new relationship because you haven't built up any sort of trust with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been rivals for a long time. They actually have undermined each other.
Oh, yeah,
Like-
absolutely. Many times.
The paintballing scene was a team building exercise. And Lucy originally planned a team building exercise. She put all this time in. She proposed it to her boss. It was like this big thing she wanted to do. And then Joshua just suggests, what if we go
Paintball.
paintballing? And that's what they decide to go with. So
Mhm.
she has been undermined by him before.
Mm-hmm.
And that foundation has been put there.
Right. And so if, again, he's already made a fool of her before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So he's an established pattern. The things he's saying are coming from him, not from his boss. He's saying them, right? If it was just his boss, you could write it off as him just like people pleasing and going,
Mhm.
right? But
yeah,
he contributes to that conversation.
he does indeed.
And the things that he's saying, and I don't remember exactly what they are, but they are very much things like, I don't know if he says skirt chasing, but for some reason that's the thought that comes into my head. Like
Mhm.
he very much talks about like seducing her.
Right. And he has approached her, frankly, in especially the early parts of their falling for each other in inappropriate ways in the workplace,
Yes.
right? Like, I think there's a justifiable enough reason for her to go, are you fucking kidding me? We're like, get the fuck away from me. No, you don't get to explain yourself. I have heard enough.
Right.
You know?
So she goes to Danny again. Poor Danny.
Yes.
Poor Danny. That irritates the shit out of me. I'm like, don't go to him. You used him.
Also, do you not have friends? Does this poor woman not have friends?
Well, that's established earlier when he's like, makes fun of her Thanksgiving Day plans and then hits the nail on the head that, like, you had no one to hang out with? You have no one? Girl, you have no one? And like, that's coming from me, who is all over the country and has had to pick up my roots and make new friends and all this kind of thing. And yeah, like the first few months that you're there, you're definitely like an island because you're like, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here. But like, she's been in New York for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Long enough for her to be at this job for them to be considering her for this gigantic promotion.
So
Right.
multiple years at this point.
Right. So where are your friends? Make some friends. Quit writing Smurf smut. It's weird.
I mean, no kink shaming. I don't know. I would have a hard time if I, like, admittedly, if I picked up and moved across the country tomorrow. I don't know why I would, but if it were a thing, I would have a hard time because I don't like humans much.
Oh, I just wouldn't make friends.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I don't think.
You would. Here's the thing. Like, you think, oh, it's difficult to make friends, or I don't want to put myself out there, or that's a lot of effort. But eventually you get to a point where you're like, I have been unspoken to for like 4 weeks straight. The only thing anyone has said to me is, hey, we've got this deadline. I think I need to go do something about it. And then you go and make friends.
Yeah.
I would call you guys a lot.
You do that too. And then they're like, I swear to God, I've got a life. Please quit calling me. They don't say that, but it's implied.
Okay, so we went through their whole third act breakup thing, and then they just like get back together at the end of the movie because Lucy walks in on everybody celebrating, and it's very much made out to be they are celebrating Joshua getting the job.
Mm-hmm.
And nope, that's not it. Lucy's the one that got the job. Josh was actually leaving for a different job at a different company. So he never was trying to undermine her getting this job.
He
And then
said
they get
he
back
didn't.
together.
He said the reason he said I don't have to worry about competing with her is because he had already accepted the position at the other job.
I hated it. I hated it. And here's why. Like, basically, it gave her the position by default, right? It wasn't that she was good enough to beat him. It wasn't that she competed more. She had a better idea or whatever. It's, oh, well, I wasn't actually competing with you at all. And so you were just the default selection.
I do like that her boss knew, his boss did not,
Mm-hmm.
that he had accepted a new position, and she told him not to tell her.
I mean,
Which
that justifies some of the things he did, but not really.
It also, I mean, I guess the idea is then she'll actually try for it and like make it seem like she earned it and prove to the board that she actually like
Deserves
the job. But
that's really infantilizing. Like,
Isn't
are you
it?
really going to say that she would not have put in the same amount of effort if you were just like, listen,
Yeah.
we have a bunch of outside clients that we're or not clients. We have a bunch of outside options
right.
that we're considering. You are not a shoo-in. You are going to have to fight for this.
Which then wouldn't have made it seem like he just gave it to her.
Yeah,
Right.
That I didn't like that part. The only part that I liked that was like the reason he said what he said was because he had like a double meaning to it when talking to his boss. I liked that, but I don't like that. Yeah, he basically rolled over so that she could have the position. Granted, he got a comparable position at a different company, but that's not the point. I don't like that it's just hers by default.
Ready for Wiggles Rewrite Corner?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is how I would have ended that. They're at each other's throats. Like, he's made it seem like he's in cahoots with his boss. They go for the job. They both go up for it. And she just flat out beats him out. Like, she's just
Yeah.
better. Her presentation's better. It makes more sense. And you kind of realize that after maybe his heart wasn't as strongly in it, but he did put a good case in for himself. And then he goes off to this other job and they have parted ways. They're not speaking, but then they find themselves competing for the same author, right?
Mhm.
Which kind of is what happens at the end. But that's how they find themselves back in each other's orbit and the fight starts up again because they can't resist each other.
I like rewrite corners with Wiggles.
I do too.
Right.
I
do like the cute fighting over the phone
Mhm.
with because they are fighting for the same author. They're arguing, they're, snarking at each other and everything, and then they end up walking up together and they both hang up the phone and then bitch about each other to each other, which I thought was funny. I was like, oh, I like
It
that.
was cute.
That was cute. And then kiss and happy, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
stupid. I think their relationship will be greatly improved by not being in a small space together while working.
Well, that is the end of the movie. They get back together in like the last 10 minutes and everything feels very rushed and
There's no more sexy scenes.
yeah. That's
And
true.
definitely no tail action.
There
Danny.
was 0% tail action. You were
Because there was
correct.
0 tails.
Yes.
Okay.
You
So
don't know his life.
he has a tail in there. His pants are too tight.
You correct, yes.
Okay. So let's just roll right into ratings then, huh? We're talking about spice. What are our spice ratings?
I mean, it's spicier than your average rom-com.
Yeah.
So I guess
Is
a little bit.
I mean, there's a couple
I
of
mean,
good,
rom-coms are
up
getting
against it.
spicier.
Yeah.
True.
But is it, would I say it's on par with like Anyone But You? No,
No.
it's lower than that. But it's obviously substantially higher than like, let's say You've Got Mail.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Right? So like, what's in the middle of those two?
I gave it like a 2.
2.5?
I think I'll go with a 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah. I'm just going to stick with a 2.
Fair enough.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Romance.
Zero mouse. I don't know. I didn't buy it. I still think he's a stalker, man.
Yeah, the things that were supposed to be a romantic reveal weren't hitting.
It's just the wall. Like everything else I could have been like fine with, but the fact that he painted his bedroom wall however long ago to match her eyes is strange.
You know
to
what
me.
trope I think needs to die? And it happens in that scene, and I think that also contributed to it feeling very weird, is this thing of I'm going to list off things about you that I like as a way of telling you that I love you. I just like it's very 90s of
Yeah.
like the way your hair shines in the sun, the way you're so kind to animals, the way you make me feel like, oh, ugh. Can we not do that anymore? Can we not? I don't know. There's something about that that just puts me off. And I think it's because of 90s rom-coms.
Fair
honestly.
enough.
Fair enough.
So I guess
2.5?
I was going to go with a 3 on the romance.
Okay. I'm going to give it the book benefit of the doubt that I think that if they had an actor who appreciated the book and wanted to deliver it, it probably would be a 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Kay.
Overall,
I didn't dislike the movie. I'm going to give it like a 3.5. It made me laugh.
it was kind of funny.
I'm gonna give it 3. Like for me, there are things that could have been better. There are things that could have been worse. So it was a really mixed bag. Like I really enjoyed some things, but the things I enjoyed most often were the side characters, like Jeff,
Right.
or
Mhm.
you said her name was Annabelle, or
Yeah.
the HR lady. Like those characters were like killing it for me. They showed up. They knew what movie they were in. I'm not sure that our main actors did. So
I think Lucy Hale knew her character,
sure.
Yeah.
but not the other guy. I'm also going to go with a 3 because I'm apathetic towards it.
Hmm.
I didn't hate it, so it's not a 2 or a 1, but will I ever watch it again? No.
So you're giving it the evil eye 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 3 that like everyone dreads of like, oh no, that just means they don't care.
Yes. Yes, which is almost worse than hating it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. What are your recommendations then?
I know I've recommended this on this before, but I'm thinking 2 weeks notice.
Good.
That's fair.
Good movie. Yes.
There's there's a lot of the fighting. They are boss and subordinate at that point, but she fights him on every level and everything, and I like the arguing aspects and stuff, and there is the weird family dynamics for him and stuff as well. So
Mm-hmm. I'm also going to do a repeat recommendation, and that's Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which I think is just a better version of this book. Yeah, I'll step that back because I've not read The Hating Game as a book, but I do think Book Lovers is a better version of the story that's told in this movie, where it's a book editor and a like book agent who are kind of just like going at it and then end up in a small town together for reasons and then have to kind of get along. And then they fall in love.
So I'm going to recommend a throwback to one of our previous episodes with Once More with Feeling.
Sure.
I think there's
a
lot of that, like rivals, enemies, where are we at? But we're also working to a common goal, but also I don't trust you, but also fuck you, but also fuck you.
Right.
Yeah.
Vibe. So that's my recommendation. Check it out. Alyssa Sussman.
Okay. That's all our recommendations, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, sometimes we have like fucking 5 of them.
It's true.
All right, folks, that's the end of it. So if you like this episode, please find us out on the socials at Wrong Dust Jackets, on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Pinterest, YouTube. You'll find us out there. Please leave a comment, drop a like, let us know either on those socials or find us out on Spotify, wherever you're listening. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what kind of suggestions you have for us as well. And then definitely check out our website, wrongdustjackets.com. You'll find out what we're going to be doing for our future episodes. You'll also find our blog post out there. And I'm telling myself on the podcast for accountability that I'm going to write a blog post about the Paladin books that I said I did at the beginning of the episode. You heard it here first. So.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye now.
All right, folks. Thanks and bye.
Baby.